The universe is big, mind-boggling big. So big, we're still having trouble figuring out where it ends or even if it ends. But you know what's crazy? It's all made of atoms. From the largest planet to the tiniest flower, just about everything that's anything is composed of atoms. They're often called the building blocks of the universe. Because once you go smaller than an atom, that thing you were looking at stops being the thing you were looking at. The family unit is another kind of building block, not of the universe, but of civilization. And think about it. What's the smallest discrete unit that still contains the characteristics of a society? It's not the individual person, but it is the family. A family maintains its own unique identity, and this identity impacts and is impacted by the society in which it exists. In short, the family unit is the atom of civilizations. Now, what the Fifth Commandment tells us is how important family relationships are to God. It reads, "Honor your father and mother, that your days may be long upon the land which the Lord your God is giving you." Later in the Bible, commandment number 5 is referred to as the First Commandment with promise. Now, all of the commandments produce blessings when we obey them. But the fifth one is unique in that God specifically lists one of the promised blessings, that our days may be long upon the land. So what, you may well ask, is the connection between honoring your father and mother and lengthening your life? Well, it's like this. So much of what defines a civilization starts with the family. Society is made of people, and people are made by families. Who you are today has a lot to do with who your family was while you were growing up. Imagine then a community filled with families where children honor their parents and where parents lead their families with compassion and understanding. What kind of world do you think that would create? Well, the sad truth is that the world we see today is far removed from that picture. For all of our advances in science and technology, the family unit is in a terrible state of disrepair. Even the very definition of what makes a family is up for debate, and it shows. Now, the Bible reveals a picture of what the human race will look like in what it calls the last days, the period of time shortly before God brings the world into judgment. It lists traits like unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, despisers of good, and things that sound pretty familiar. But you might be surprised to learn that one of the traits listed here is disobedient to parents. When the family crumbles, civilization isn't too far behind. The family matters, and God intentionally designed it to play a critically important role in our lives. And He designed this commandment to make that role work. The first 4 commandments tell us how to relate to God, and the last 6 tell us how to relate to one another. It's no accident that the very first of these 6 commandments that deal with how we treat others is focused on family relations. The family is where human relations begin. It's also no accident that God is often referred to as our Father in heaven. The physical role of fatherhood, as designed by God, helps us understand our spiritual relationship with Him as His children and His family. So here's some advice on how to treat family as seriously as God treats family. Just as the 3rd commandment reminds us that followers of God are carrying the name of God, acting as His representatives in the eyes of those around us, the 5th commandment reminds us that we are also carrying our family's name. The things you do, the way you act, and the words you say all reflect back on more than just you. They affect how others perceive the families you belong to, whether those families are physical or spiritual. A family unit is at its strongest when children honor their parents by showing respect, by obeying, by accepting correction and guidance, and by living in a way that improves how others view the family name. And that's true whether we're talking about physical human parents or our spiritual Father in heaven. The Fifth Commandment is a commandment for everyone then. Whether you're young or old, whether you have children or still a child, you and your whole family will benefit when you personally strive to honor your father and mother. The Sixth Commandment focuses not just on murder, but on the human heart itself. To learn more, click Next to continue watching this series. And for further reading, you can also download our free booklet, God's 10 Commandments Still Relevant Today.